Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Arwin, Chocolate Saiyan, The Adam Meekin, Righteous Force, Neil, 10th Man Rising, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Wow. Wow.
Good
10th
everyone.
Man Rising. What's up?
Do I normally just say 10th?
It was just weird. I'm not used to the whole 10th Man Rising. It's cool.
10th
Well,
man.
this morning.
Yes,
Good
good
morning,
morning,
everybody.
indeed. But should we do housekeeping today? We've been discussing in the pre-show, I'll just fill the audience in on what's been going on, about the sort of change in direction the show has taken abruptly without any particular reason for doing so, but everybody in the audience loves it, which is fine. But in lieu of that, I obviously want to increase the audience numbers. There's a reason to proactively do something to the show, and that is the reason I want to increase the numbers of the show. It's gone down for whatever reason I might choose to blame. There are a number, but I'm not going to do that now. What I am going to say is, if you're enjoying us taking apart some of the mainstream millions of views, nonsensical rubbish that goes out there about Flat Earth and the strawmans they represent us with, then share the show, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to forego housekeeping for a change. Not often we do, but today we are going to, and we're going to get straight into the thick of this particular video that's been shared with us by 10th Man, called The Real Source of Gravity Might Surprise You. So I'm going to stick a share to this video in the live stream chat, so you can check it out and well, do whatever you want with it. I don't know, but there you go. There's the video we're going to be reacting to if you want to go and check it out. And the channel is called the Science Asylum. So there we go. So we're going to get straight into it, and hopefully some of the people in the Discord server and in G+ will give you a few of their reactions as well. We'll see how we go.
It seemed universal. But about a century ago, we learned that model is wrong.
Okay, so we're off to a good start. We're talking about models and whether or not they're right or wrong.
Nathan,
Models.
Nathan, you got to start at the beginning where he says what we want to hear first. You started just after that.
Hey, crazies. For 250 years, we treated gravity as if it was a force like any other. That model explained both falling on Earth.
Okay. Yeah, so we are all aware that gravity is not a force. Okay, well, it was worth playing.
And orbits in space.
Orbits is a begging the question fallacy. Gravity is not a force. Okay? Oh, great start.
It seemed universal. But about a century ago, we learned that model is wrong.
Okay. Yeah, we've been trying to tell our own audiences that they need to get with the current nonsense of Einstein rather than the 107-year out-of-date nonsense of Newtonian gravitation and mass attracting mass. Okay? But it doesn't alter the reason we try and explain to our anti-flat earth audience who tells us gravity is a force in spite of their gurus like George Musa telling them it isn't, is because we need to debunk the actual Einsteinian nonsense of gravity. But there we go.
Plus, you know, just say something. Plus, if we're learning if we're now learning something is wrong, then it was never proved to be correct in the first place. It was just an idea, you know, that they'd thought up that fits something at that time. So it can't be. It's got no scientific validity to it. So this is what the heliocentric model is.
Exactly. Or to put it another way, you know all that stuff as a heliocentrist I was telling you for hundreds of years? It's all wrong. Guess what? It's this now. That's what you're saying.
And this guy is from like mainstream. Like this is a Glober mainstream channel that's saying this, not flat earther, right? Am I correct?
Gravity
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
is actually
So-
curvature of
So, did you want to add
So
something?
now he's going to tell us how Einstein debunked Newton.
Well, what he's showing is he's got a depiction in a two-dimensional screen that's trying to be bendy and show three-dimensionality to it. But one of the axes is labeled time. It's like, so you're telling me that my reality that was wrong in all of your mass attracting mass gravitation is now this pseudo-Ramonian four-space time bending with an extra dimension to our reality known as time. Time's a concept, it's not a dimension. It certainly isn't this cartoon, and it certainly isn't a line with the word time written on it.
space-time. And most of the gravity we experience on Earth is curvature in time.
You can't curve time. Time's a concept. Describing time won't get bent. It won't be dilated. You can't move through it. It's not a medium. It's a description. It's a concept.
Yes, time can curve.
No, it's just stating it into the camera with a jump shot edit won't change the fact that you can't bend time. Show me time. Yeah? Show it me. Then show it me bending. What's that? You can't show it me, but you've just looked at the camera square onto the lens and told them that time bends. Show me time, then show me bending it. Don't just say it. Because Einstein said it, you parrot. Why is this called science? Why have you now cut to your title of your show like this was science? Implying with the channel title that this was somehow science with you looking into the camera saying time bends? Really? What was that bending? Is it the tyre smoke off the DeLorean? What is it that's bending precisely? The tyres? Because no, you can't bend concepts. You can't bend freedom either. Another concept. This stuff isn't for bending, you clown.
This episode was made possible by generous support.
Oh, by the way, give me money. I'm bullshitting you about time bending directly into the camera. Now give me money. Oh, and
I think the picture is pretty appropriate, though. I mean,
on a
Don't
completely
you
separate and different note, smash the super chat to support this channel. That's Nathan Oakley 1980.
Supporters on Patreon. To be fair, I can understand if you're shocked or confused right now.
Not shocked or confused. Calling you out as a clown. Did you not hear me call you a clown? There was no shock. There was disgust that you could look in the camera, cut the edit closer to you while you tell people that time bends. Time is a concept. You can't show it me, let alone bend it.
Now, or both. You can probably picture some kind of space curvature.
Can I? What? Picture a fourth dimension? No, I definitely can't. I mean, I can picture 3 dimensions and draw them with them and map with them and do useful shit with them. But as for picturing a fourth dimensional space-time dimension, no, definitely not. I can now have you, undoubtedly, take me on a little journey of imagination land. That's what's actually going to happen. When you tell me that I can do some imagination, which is what you've actually just done.
That's not a huge stretch.
Not a huge stretch for you to tell me that I'm going to be imagining something. I just broke down that you're going to be making your audience imagine something. So let's see where we go now. To physics and science? I doubt it.
But time curvature?
Time doesn't curve. You've just shown a clock. This is a cartoon of a clock. Bending it in any way, shape or form won't change how we perceive what we describe as time.
What does that even mean? It's a fair question, so let's start with a simple experiment.
Oh, here we go. Straight into the pseudoscience bullshit.
Say we've got a tall building.
Science is the establishment of cause and effect by way of systematic experimentation based on hypotheses. A hypothesis establishes what you presume to be the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Ergo, step 1 in the scientific method, and he has most definitely and assuredly described this as being science, would be to observe natural phenomena. That is step 1. So when your example starts with, let's have a little looky at a man-made building, I can tell you immediately that this is not going to be science. Smashed as ordered. God bless Nathan and panel. Thank you very much indeed, Michael, for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Anybody got anything to add before we move on?
Well, he opened up this this scenario with the previous theories were proven wrong, and now he's going to try and prove this theory in not a scientific manner.
Maybe he's just describing an upcoming thought experiment. But, you know, maybe that's what it'll be.
I know already.
What's the name of this channel
he
again?
He isn't. That's what I was about to point out. It's called the Science Asylum.
Right.
I think you're being a bit unfair. Not spoke yet. I mean, I'm not holding much hope out when you start with a tall building.
Exactly.
So
That's what
if
I'm trying to
tall
give him the
building-
benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Do you want me to play this out before calling foul and saying it's pseudoscience? Okay, no, fair enough. That's reasonable.
I think we've got to get to the end of his paragraph so we can at least see if he is in any way formulating anything. Or if
Okay,
it's
right. I'm
just-
just going to do it then, just to defy you. I'm going to say, without doubt, I'm going to lay my reputation on it that this will not be the establishment of cause and effect reasoning based on a hypothesis with an experiment to back it. I'm going to place my reputation on that right here and right now because you said we should leer him out and I shouldn't prejudge. Let's see if I'm going to be capping and pleading that I didn't mean it.
I didn't say you were going to be wrong. I just
Like,
just hear the
really
ball in
tall.
its entirety
It's
first.
poking out into space.
Yeah, it's poking out into
Uh-oh.
space. So before we've even got to any might be science, he's already broken the second law of thermodynamics, Adam. What say you?
Well, I think
Wait. It's the tall building that's poking out into space. This is the experiment.
But so far, so good, eh? It's not looking good.
Yeah, we're doing great.
We're ignoring any engineering difficulties. Just
Engineering difficulties. What about the second law of thermodynamics difficulty? So if the sky was a vacuum, which you refer to colloquially as space, then the gas you're breathing right now would be filling that availability of volume. So your idea that a building can go into an area of volume that gas isn't filling is a violation of natural law. Don't worry about the engineering difficulties. Worry about the second law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics difficulties. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
just go with it.
No. We don't do that here. We don't just go into your fantasy bullshit land where we imagine skyscrapers in second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuums. We're not going to go with it. We're going to rip it to pieces.
On
You're
the
gonna
ground
go
floor.
with it, scientist?
Just go with it, Ad. That's right, Arwin. Just go with it, right? We're not establishing cause and effect. We're not laying down a prediction. That's a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis. Just go into La La Land with me. It's not a stretch. Yeah, it fucking is. This is a massive stretch because it violates a natural law. There is no sky vacuum for you to put a hypothetical building in.
Nathan, you're just getting hung up on it. Come on.
Just getting hung up on that second law of thermodynamics, natural law of nature, description of something that occurs always without exception. That would be gas filling space. Well, his description and diagrams show gas next to vacuum. Ergo, we'd all be dead because the gas would vacate immediately into that area. That's what gas does. Gas expands at high velocity in all directions to fill whatever volume, and his example has a skyscraper going into a sky vacuum. Ergo, everybody in the example would be dead.
Or there's a photon launcher. It sends out a photon every second. On the top floor, there's a photon timer.
Oh, it's the same bullshit with clocks and differentials between clocks. It's another parlor trick. This isn't science. Where's the naturally occurring phenomena? Where are you showing us the phenomena of time? Oh, we're looking at clocks. We're going to look at cesium decay.
It receives the photons and measures the time between them. If we assume an absolute time frame for every
Why would we do this? Why would we assume absolute time frames? Why would we assume that we've got clocks in space? Because your tower is going to be juxtaposed with a claim that this is actually being done in presuppositional orbital motion, right? So again, this is like the other one. 10th is doing this deliberately to annoy me. Is this one deliberately irritating me for a reason? Why is this irritating?
He's
me?
hold on, he's
also be-
invoking the fourth dimension, right? He is saying, let's just assume time steps. So he's literally like, let's go with pseudo-Harmonian force space. That's literally what he said.
Yes.
No, I know so far we've got.
He's also
if
contradicting
cesium
the uncertainty principle by talking.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Hopefully you'll break that down at the end, John, in terms of the differential that they're claiming based on them bending lines that aren't needing bending and then unbending them back and claiming that they've corrected them. But we'll come back to that. Adam, what were you saying? Sorry. Please hold that thought, John.
We were predicting so far. I'm not trying to predict what we're going to do, but I've got if cesium clock or with cesium clock if altitude appears to be where we're at so far. If we're going to science any of what he's going to do, it's if altitude so far, as I can see. But
Why
gotta carry
are you formulating his science? Isn't this Science Asylum?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he be doing that?
Go ahead, Chocolate.
Come on.
Just let Chocolate make... everyone shut up. Go ahead, Chocolate. Repeat that point. That's the main point here, is it? With a title like Science Asylum and him flashing up the title of his channel, Science Asylum, after telling you the time bends. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I was just, telling Adam, don't formulate his science for him. He should be doing that. He's the one teaching us, right? Mr. Science Asylum. He should formulate this as an experiment, like he said he was, but he's not.
I've got no faith that he will achieve that. So we'll just give him a little bit of help along the way.
Right.
You're a nice guy. I get it.
My reputation's intact. Oh, shocking. Yeah, he's an absolute fraud. This isn't science, mate. Why are you telling your audience that this is science? It's bullshit. Right? What Adam's doing, a man of science, is correcting where you could be formulating this into a bullshit hypothesis with height as your independent variable, you utter clown. Right? Even when we fail to formulate this into a viable hypothesis, which it won't be, you haven't got a naturally occurring phenomena. You haven't got anything. Unless Adam's suggesting that cesium decay is his naturally occurring phenomena he's trying to figure out the cause of. Because I don't hear him saying, I'm going to figure out what caused cesium decay, i.e. an entropy increase.
Well, so far we've got, like you said, independent is altitude, height. But I thought we were going to be affecting time.
Exactly.
So we'll see what height does with time.
Well, he hasn't specified his dependent variable. He's told us about a clock at the top of a tower in space. I mean, we know where he's going with this. That's why I'm getting so annoyed with him preemptively. Let's listen a bit more.
Everyone and everything in the universe, which is certainly what our intuitions tell us to do.
What?
We'd expect the photon timer to receive a photon every second.
Would we? Because we sit around thinking about what photon timers do when they go up to clocks. Nobody's observing this in nature. Nobody gives two shits about your parlour trick with no observed phenomena to be explaining. It's just a parlour trick.
Man-made
But
device.
that's not what happens. The photon timer actually receives a photon every 1.000000000.
Sorry, what the hell does this have to do with anything occurring in nature that we might be wanting to explain the cause of with science? Because that's pretty exclusively what science deals with. Explaining the cause of natural phenomena. What the hell is this?
0, 0, 1.
Go on.
I was just going to say, just because he hasn't formulated this in any sort of coherent way, I lost the point of what was the point of what he's trying to tell us? What was the point of this so-called experiment?
He's proving
He's not
time
done that yet.
bends. That's presumably the thing that he's made. He's made a claim that time bends, cut to his channel name, Science, and then now he's talking about this.
1 seconds. Yes, I know that's 100th of a nanosecond difference, but it's still a difference. That means clocks on the top floor of a building tick just a tiny bit faster.
And so that's a technological issue that you might need to sort out, given that their usefulness is to qualify and describe what we have as a convention. That's time. So that convention is described in these items. If they don't keep up with each other and therefore track the convention that they're describing, then they're faulty. That makes this a technological issue. It's not an issue for science. It's an issue for fucking clockmakers.
Than clocks
Yeah,
on the
no,
ground.
That's the point,
Hold on,
Nathan,
not
that
only
needs
that,
just
that
reiterating.
That deviation was a very insignificant deviation. That would
That doesn't
typically
matter.
be attributed to just like a flaw, an aberration. It's ignored.
No. If there's a difference, there's a difference. Yeah, but it's what's is that a phenomenon? Is it because we've got faulty clocks? That's worth sciencing. That's the point. If you do notice it, quantitative or qualitative, it doesn't. You've got a difference, haven't you? Whether you can validate that difference to your supposed cause is a different matter. But you shouldn't poo-poo the difference.
Yeah, but hold on. When it's that low a number, you don't know. Is it really that persistent? An exact number?
Is that number that low outside of the experimental error? Because it can be low if it's still within the experimental error. It's fine.
What?
Right.
Experimental error?
Yeah. You got me there. Fair point.
But this is like what I learned in chemistry. Like if
there is no difference.
Right.
There is no time. There is no time difference. It's calculation based on the belief. Nobody measured that. What their observed phenomenon is the decay rate of cesium.
The decay rate of cesium at the top of an imaginary tower that's never been tested. All right, this is the phenomenon. Yeah.
They want you to believe
what I hear. Sorry, Brian.
No, you go, Chocolate. You go.
I was just gonna say, do you know what I hear when I hear that? Like, do you understand how they tell us that if two people are standing in different places, we're actually moving at different speeds? Well, what I hear is they're taking that vertically, and somebody at the bottom of a building, time is moving differently for them than somebody at the top of the same building. It's the same nonsense that I hear.
No, Chocolate, though, think of it. You all want to work on the top floor because you don't have to work as long. You get out of work early.
Exactly.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're taking a convention which is describing the progress of our life. And that convention we call time. Now, we describe it. It's a description, and it's useful. And we can put increments into that description. And we can put cogs around the increments and make them work roughly in line with observations of things like the lights in the sky moving over our head. We can correlate all of these things together. But as soon as you start working outside of the convention, that's where you've got a problem. And that's what's happening here. It's all useful to have a convention for time. But then saying, time, the convention itself, bends. No, it doesn't. But that's what they're doing.
Right. It's only the entropy rate that might be changing somehow in that material of that clock.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But that's
stop. That's the only point. So therefore, you can, in science, ascribe a natural phenomenon to that. Cesium decays. There was this much, now there isn't. Why has there been a change? A change. What's that? A phenomena? Something's happened? So I can say, with science, which is narrow, what caused the cesium to decay? What caused that phenomena to happen? Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's telling you.
It's absolutely ludicrous. You're trying to establish the cause of entropy in this instance, but it doesn't matter. It's still a phenomena, and you can still put it through the method if you choose to do so. Or you can take a convention that describes the passage of, in this case, time, and work outside of the convention with a phenomena that you are experiencing, and then take that into a description of something that you can't bend, a convention, and bend it. There you go. And how'd you do it? How'd you convince the people that that's what's actually happened in physical reality? And what reality is that? Well, the fourth dimensional reality you're not a part of. Well, you give them an example with a technologically based phenomena. Clocks, moving at different rates? Who gives a shit? They're used to qualify and describe a convention we have called time. Doesn't matter what they do, and if they're doing something different, so they're not tracking time correctly. No, time's bending. Hello? You're being swindled because they're working outside of the convention. That's what's happening.
No, but there's something going on here. People have to remember something. There is no change. The change they're claiming is purely a calculation that's based on a belief. The rate of cesium decay right? For them to measure that, space would have to be real. There is no change. This is purely a belief. So there's no point even talking about a change in the rate of the cesium decay, because nobody has ever actually shown that. They've shown a calculation.
Okay, I'll
not
accept that.
even
Okay, hold on.
that.
Let me just address that. On face value, I'll just accept that that is the case, Brian. Fine. You're saying there is no cesium decay. But it's irrelevant for the following reason. If somebody came along, you know the scene in Back to the Future where he comes with the 2 stopwatches, puts one in the car, comes back, and they're at different times, right? If somebody did show that, that's what they're describing, right? Because they're saying you can bend the fabric of time. And how it gets bent is what's being described. If someone did show me the 2 watches, so Doc hands me 2 stopwatches and tells me this one went through the car and went through time, right? I'd say, well, there's an issue with your watch because it doesn't make any difference what this watch versus this watch says, because neither have any causal influence on the passage of time as we describe it. That just ticks along as it does, and it doesn't matter what the cogs in the clock do or the digital stopwatch says. Time is what it is. How we describe it is irrelevant, and how we then take that description to describe something within the description bending is also irrelevant to the passage of time. I want to make that absolutely clear. Doesn't matter if they show you the parlor trick. It's the same as them saying, well, no, I did get the Cavendish balls to move. Look, they're moving. And first step, natural phenomena observed, please.
But
If that was the case, I'm sorry, man. I was just gonna say, if that was the case, I wouldn't be interested in 2 different stopwatches at different times. I'd be like, excuse me, how did you just take a car through a concept?
They didn't. No, in my example, Chocolate, there was no car, just the stopwatches. I didn't see a car go through time. Doc came up to me with 2 stopwatches, the ones that in the plot of the movie, in a movie, went in a car and the 2 stopwatches change. Now Doc's here in front of me. He's got the 2 stopwatches, and he puts them in front of me like these 2 clocks. Look, one's different, and well, therefore my car went through time. No, it didn't. Just got 2 clocks with different times on them.
That's the fundamental of the claim, isn't it? Is that, see, we're looking at cesium decay, yeah, and their claim is that cesium decay rate does not change. So if even if you did show a difference, you see, they would be claiming that cesium is not decaying at a different rate. Their ultimate cause is the cesium continue to decay at the same rate, but was shifted into an alternate timeline, which is why there is a comparative difference between the 2 when you bring them back together at the same reference point. The ultimate cause is time in what they're trying to formulate this into.
Yes, in a 4th dimensional description, it's travelled further along a geodesic than the other stopwatch. Correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, retarded.
Do we have a 4th dimensional geodesic to make longer, Adam?
No.
Right. So we've just got a convention that we describe what we know as the passage of time with, and we can log it on clocks. So showing differences in them is no difference to showing the Cavendish experiment, also quack, nonsense, punted as being science, and saying, look, I can show what it's supposed to do. I expect to see these 2 clocks different. I expect to see balls moving towards each other. All right, that's fascinating. Sorry, what was the phenomena we were studying? Cesium decay? Well, if you're going to put that through science, you're going to be establishing the cause of cesium decay. That's it. That's what you'll be sciencing.
See, there's a couple of things going on here. One of the things is they're basically claiming the cause of cesium decay is time, right? And they're replacing entropy with time and making time something that is not conceptual.
No.
But that's their point. They're taking entropy out of it. They're literally claiming time is the cause of entropy.
They're saying time will change relative entropy, yeah. But the rate of cesium decay stays the same. The differential is caused by the time shifting of the relative positions, the altitude.
It's a no change change.
Yeah, okay.
It's the no change change. So in what we experience. It's like when they took the guy, or Tyson took the guy to La La Land and describes relativity and describes the guy he's watching speeding up through time up to the speed of light. From your position, he tells him, no change to observe, nothing different. It all seems the same. So we've got a circumstance with the cesium. The cesium, you're never going to show a change in the rate of cesium. It'll decay at the same rate always. But here we show a change. Oh, right. Well, what's accountable for it? Oh, time bending. No. Time you could describe the rate of the decay with as a convention. Now you're going to work outside the convention and say that a geodesic's been bent, making its path longer, making the decay take a greater duration, therefore having more of it comparably to the other cesium because it's higher up and a longer geodesic through space-time. What? Just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, but what's going on there is they're trying to claim that there is a change in the rate of decay, right? And it's due to time, because time is the cause of entropy. That's basically, so they're trying to basically wedge in time as being the cause of entropy. That's what they're trying to do. And that entropy, the entropic effect on cesium, right, happens differently at different rates of time at different altitudes and positions away from, let's say, the globe Earth due to the curving of space time. But what's really going on here is not even that. It's the difference between Newtonian, what they claim to be Newtonian, I know it's not, and Einsteinian, let's call it Cavendish era, right? Gravity is that starts, gravity from a Cavendish Newtonian point of view starts with the effect of an apple falling, whereas Einsteinian starts with the cause. Einstein gives you the cause and you go looking for the effects. So the cause is already given. So there's no need to do experiment because the cause is already given. All you have to do is find the effects and match them up to the cause.
Gotcha. That's why. Gotcha. So chronologically, that's why he starts with the cut shot to the camera where he says time bends. That's why he starts out with that.
Yeah, you take the clock up just and see the difference to see how much time has bent. Just like you put the balls together to see how much they'll attract, to see how much the gravity is.
Gotcha.
But to define these points, to bend space, what they're trying to say, or space-time, you would have to know the position of that particle at every point along that line that you're getting ready to curve, which would contradict the uncertainty principle.
And what line would that be? The fourth dimensional geodesic in space-time line?
Yeah, but that's John's point's brilliant.
Go on, Adam. Say again.
John's point. Just expound on it, John, because that absolutely destroys it by their own rhetoric.
Well, they have a line that they're trying to say that this particle has occupied every point along this line, right? And then they're going to bend that line in fourth dimensional La La Land. But they would have to know the position of that particle all the way from A to B, which would contradict the uncertainty principle.
Two independent clocks tick at different rates. We call that time dilation. I would have called it time variation instead, because it
time doesn't vary, again, working outside the convention.
Isn't actually dilating, but so be it.
Clocks varying. Time doesn't vary. It's a convention used to describe something. You can't vary or dilate conventions.
The point is, time passes at different rates in different places.
No, it does not. Clocks might show different times in different places, but that doesn't show that the time that has passed for anybody has in any way changed, because the convention being used to describe it may change on the cogs or hands or dials or readouts of clocks. You're working outside of the convention. Go ahead.
So this, I think, is there's this misconception that a clock is a time meter. No, a clock's used for us to use it in the convention. but it doesn't measure time. A ruler measures distance, one dimension. To imply if you're going to turn time into a dimension, what do you measure it with? Not a clock. That's the. You're not measuring time with a clock.
Yeah, certainly not mentioning it as a dimension, a fourth dimension, the pseudo dimension invented by Einstein. That isn't measured by a clock. It's used as a convention to describe something. Go ahead, whoever that is.
I'm just saying, it's what they're doing is not much different than me cooking a turkey at a low heat and cooking it at a high heat and saying the time changed. That I just measure time.
Right.
When I just cooked it at 2 different temperatures.
Right.
For example, time passes more slowly the closer you are to the Earth.
No, it does not.
The Earth causes it. That's
Time is a convention. It's describing it as moving is nonsense. It's also a reification fallacy. You don't move time. Time is a description. You can't move a convention. My God. This is getting annoying. Every time he says it, I'm going to have to point it out.
The Earth as the cause there as well.
Yeah, he's
You know,
introduced.
I just turned on the live stream just to see which video we're talking about. I know who we're talking about. I've seen this guy before. Sorry, man.
That's what time curvature looks like around the Earth. That's how it's perceived.
A bit like,
he's right though. And he's go on. I'll go after him.
well, I was just going to say he's done another jump cut to tell you how things are perceived. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say when he claims the Earth is the cause, in his model it is, because it's mass is the cause of the effect of gravity. There's this mass that bends space and time. So without mass bending space and time, we wouldn't have the apparent effect of gravity. So we wouldn't have time dilation.
What you're saying is he's right within his model, correct?
Yeah, that's when he said the Earth's the cause.
Yeah.
Hey, crazies. For 250 years, we treated gravity as if it was a force like any other. That model explained both falling on Earth and orbits in space.
Okay, so this is the replacement model for the one that you said at the beginning.
It seemed universal. But about a century ago, we learned that model is wrong.
I see. So this is the replacement model. So it's not that this one could be wrong either. It's the old one that's wrong, but now bending concepts outside of their convention is right. Okay.
I know, right?
Wait a second. Hold on. Did he say the model was wrong?
What he's saying is...
change the model?
He's saying Newtonian gravity was outdated 107 years ago, aka wrong. Now, we are a little bit more polite about it. Yeah, we say it's been superseded by Einsteinian bending fourth dimensional space-time when we tell our opponents how wrong they are when they say gravity's a force. Now, he's pointing out that up until that point, everyone knew it was a force because they were told by the priests that it was a force. And they had to accept it because that's what they were told to accept. Then, 107 years ago, Einstein comes along and, well, that's all wrong. Gravity's not a force. It's a bending conceptual geodesic in a medium I have invented with a fourth dimension, says Einstein. So out with the old, in with the new. This guy's saying, we found out all that was wrong. Now what's right is what I've been told by Einstein. Now let's go to La La Land. Just remember, jump cut. Time bends.
I just want to give him a bit of credit again. Unlike the anti-flat earthers, at least he does understand the comprehension of the word superseded, meaning the other one was wrong. Something that they struggled with.
Do you think that some of the Globers might contact this guy and try to start telling him that maybe he shouldn't be telling people that Newtonian gravity got superseded? Because, a lot of the Globers we've encountered, they don't like that. But apparently this guy, at least he's up to date with his own rhetoric.
Their objection...
It fits in?
Their objection's 107 years out of date. Shout out to Theo Megawatt. He says, hey, crazies. Appropriate solution for the zealots. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
Shout out to AI.
Time dilation is real, and it matters. Our GPS...
Huh? What? So about like time bending, time dilation is real and it matters. No, it's not real. This on screen is not real. Number one, we've debunked Earth as a sphere. with a radius of 3959 because every distance to the horizon that you measure to get R would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as you assert. And we can show that the horizon's beyond that in the black swan, debunking all notion of any geometric possibilities of acquiring any R values to make these assertions about the Earth being a sphere or having a sphere-edge horizon for things to fall around in orbit. So we've debunked this CGI crap with little blue satellites in presuppositional orbital motion. Every aspect of this that you've just told your audience is real, we have debunked.
This network would fail rather quickly if we didn't.
It fails now because I've just told you why it doesn't work. You don't have a globe Earth for things to fall around. You don't have a sphere-edge horizon and a curved surface. You don't have presuppositional orbital motion based on an R value that we've debunked also. You don't have any of those things. This is all garbage. It's just a cartoon.
Didn't account for it. Within a day of turning it on, your location would have a 7-mile error.
Who cares? It's a stupid model that we're not living on. It makes no difference.
But it gets even crazier than that.
Really? Why? What? You were just telling us how this is all real. Why would it be crazy? Things that make sense tend to make a lot of sense, as opposed to being crazy. Yes, total nonsense showed with CGI cartoons tends to be pretty crazy. And I can pull apart how crazy it is based on an R value assumption, a geometric sphere-edge horizon for things to fall over in an orbit, and an R value to assert it with mathematics, all of which is debunked. That's why it's crazy. Not because of you're now telling the audience how they need to fantasize this crap. To understand why it isn't really crazy, it really all works in a fourth dimension we're not experiencing.
The type of time dilation involved in that building
You can't dilate time. Time is a concept. You can't dilate it or bend it or travel through it.
experiment is called
It's
gravitational.
not an experiment. It's a parlor trick. Your little description was not an experiment. It didn't establish the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. You didn't even explain that it was cesium decay. So you're not explaining anything with science. This isn't science. This is a parlor trick. Go on, whoever.
BB.
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, isn't it telling though? Like, I mean, you kind of caught that, but like him telling, oh, it's crazy. Well, yeah, because what you're telling us is nonsense. So you have to explain to your audience how crazy it is. Like when you're describing reality, you don't have to say how crazy it is, whether it is or not, because it's just reality. It's just is what it is. But when it's crazy, or you know that what you're about to say is some nonsense, you gotta pepper it with, oh, it's so crazy. I know it sounds crazy, guys, but you know what I mean? Like it's hilarious.
Right, you're right. It's
Neil
not something.
deGrasse, he said, it's real. It's real.
It's not something we have to say here. Hey, I know it sounds crazy, but when you hold a sextant, you're measuring an angle. Because the audience is actually, no, that doesn't sound crazy at all. It's an angle measuring device. Well, you know, when you use that angle measuring device, one of the lines that you're measuring as an angle is a straight line. That's the baseline. You know, on your map, the one that you'll draw a circle on. Well, it's got to be flat, and the reason is because it's an angle. Now, did that need me to pepper it with, this sounds crazy, but when you measure an angle, it's a straight line? No disclaimers needed.
Nope.
Good analogy.
I know this sounds crazy, but over there, 10 miles away, is a clock tower. And the reason I can see it is because it's there.
Yeah, another perfect example.
That's
Adam's
crazy.
using
You're crazy,
clock at
man.
20 miles. I'll give this a good example. Perfect timing, Adam. So two guys are stood on the shore looking across the bay, and they can see a clock. One of them's a flat earther and one of them's a globe believer. And the globe believer turns to the flat earther and says, you know that clock over there? And the flat earther goes, the one I can see just over there in the distance. The globe believer goes, yeah. Says, that's not really a clock. And the flat earther goes, well, really? I can just see it. And the globe believer goes, nah. It's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere edge at radius 3959. Therefore, what you're seeing is a slightly looming non-standard refraction projection of a clock from behind that reified geometric sphere edge horizon. Therefore, it's not really a clock, it's a mirage. You're seeing it projected up from behind the Earth curve. It's not really there at all. What you are seeing here is a mirage. And the flat earther turns around and goes, really? I just see a clock. And the glober says, well, explain it. And the flat earther says, well, I don't need to explain anything. I'm just looking at a clock about 20 miles away. I didn't even need to tell you the distance. It's just a clock I can see. Oh, what's that? Because you have a sphere edge horizon that's not getting in the way of it, you need to explain that it's a mirage and we're not really seeing it. That sounds like something that you'd start a sentence with, I know it sounds crazy, but that clock's not really there. It's a slightly looming non-standard refraction projection of a clock from behind the physical geometric spheric horizon called Earth curve that we're not seeing. We're seeing the clock because it's a mirage. I know it sounds crazy, but that's really the world you live in, as opposed to the flat earther who says, there's a clock. I can see it. No explanation required.
No, but then you'd be the crazy one for not believing his crazy story.
What, you mean you think you can just see that clock? No, you can't just see it. You shouldn't be able to see it. We're seeing too far.
Gravitational time dilation. Not because it comes from gravity, but
Like, not because it comes from gravity. We're not seeing time. You haven't shown us time, let alone shown us it dilate. You've shown us a cartoon of some clocks. You haven't shown us this.
because it causes gravity.
Oh, you haven't shown us it. You haven't demonstrated it, but it's the cause of gravity. What's gravity? Have you shown us that? What's that? What is gravity? Anybody?
They don't know what it is, but it's sure being caused by this thing.
Yeah, we don't know. We're not being shown it. We haven't been defined. It's not been put on screen even as a cartoon yet, but it's the cause of this. What, the cartoon and the working outside of the convention that wasn't scientifically validated is the cause of gravity? I think not. I think definitely all you've done up until now, my friend, is work outside the convention of time.
I know, that sounds weird, but
Why would you have to qualify that? Again, when I talk about measuring angles off a flat plane, I just say you measure angles off a flat plane, it proves Earth's flat. Do I need to put my hands up in the air? You know, it's crazy.
Weird, guys.
Earth's flat, we measure angles. You might find it hard to believe.
hear me out. Just for a minute, forget everything you know about gravity.
What, that it's a bending pseudo-Riemannian force space-time dimension that we don't live in?
Imagine it doesn't exist. In that imaginary world, there's no reason for this squirrel to fall. He just
What? He's got nothing beneath him. Surely he'll fall. He's more dense than the air.
floats there.
What? What reality do squirrels float? Hello? Sorry, am I in La La Land? I'm going to have to listen to this again.
Yeah, because that's a mind trick. It's a switch rate. Imagine it doesn't exist, which it doesn't. We don't have to imagine it doesn't. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, imagine a world where gravity exists and then I take it away, but still within my same paradigm. So I've removed that imaginary force, not imagine a world without gravity.
Imagine it doesn't exist. In that imaginary world, there's no reason for this squirrel to fall.
Yeah, there is. It's more dense than the air it's in. I didn't hear him wrong the first time. He said, imagine a world without gravity. Done. No fourth dimensional space-time bending for me, buddy. Now, see a squirrel. Okay, I'm looking at a squirrel. There's no reason for him to displace the air. Yeah, fucking is. What are you talking about? He's just flat out wrong. Even if I take myself to his imagination land that he's asked me to go to, where I don't imagine a fourth dimensional space-time bending. Yeah, I can do that. Definitely, it's real easy. The squirrel will fall because it's more dense than the air.
You're still in a fourth dimensional space-time bending place, but the effect of gravity, the thing that the cause of pulling you down in this explanation has been removed, but everything else is equal still. Yeah, this is the false paradox he's putting you in. He's in a world of gravity without gravity, not just in the world.
Wait, but Adam, isn't it the ball falls to the ground? Isn't it mass attracting mass? I thought that was done with.
In that world, but if suddenly the mass stops attracting the mass, therefore which is still the cause, down.
Oh, so he doesn't understand his own rhetoric that he's told us he understood at the beginning of the video. Oh, I'm going to get real irritated with him real quick. Okay, Godzilla37, thank you for the super chat. He says, I sent this super chat yesterday time, but must have dilated and bent on its way over to you. It was also £100 at first. My God, that time-bending bastard. Oh, I can't believe it. Thank you very much for this.
Time bending causes like devaluation.
Certainly does according to Godzilla.
Currency decay.
Yes, currency decay. That's it. That's a natural occurring.
Look, I'm going to think of it as $100, okay?
He just floats there.
No, he doesn't. He does in your cartoon, though. In my world, squirrels don't float. And there's no gravity in my world. Literally, there's no fourth-dimensional space-time bending, and squirrels don't float.
It's false also. The second he touched off, remember, he's just removed gravity. So the second he touches off now, there's no opposing force. So he just keeps going.
Oh, no, he didn't
off.
say that. No. Adam likes to give these people the benefit of the doubt, right? Now, I can either take what you're doing on his behalf and say, no, he's just convoluting a force that would pull the squirrel to the ground with his pseudo-Ramonian force space-time bending. But I'm not going to do that because he starts the video with a disclaimer about 107-year out-of-date gravity being wrong, doesn't he, Adam?
It does. I'm only laughing at his incorrectness in his own rhetoric. Again, like when that baby squirrel was born, if there is no force that is removed, then when it popped out of the mummy squirrel, it just kept on going off into space because there's no other forces, so there's nothing to oppose it in his world. Because he's not saying let's just live in the real world and pretend gravity doesn't exist, because it doesn't, and look at it like that. He's saying let's go to the world of gravity and take that force effect out. What will happen? And what he's saying there is his squirrel will hover. His squirrel won't hover, and it'll keep moving from the last direction. He'll start acting like a gas particle, won't he? He'll keep moving because there's no other forces to oppose him, because the only reason for this force, for the containment of any effect the squirrel has, is the downward effect of gravity, which is removed, which is why he incorrectly thinks it's just hovering there. Dumb rambling.
That's Newton's laws at play. No unbalanced force means no acceleration.
But again, I hate to do this to you, Adam, but he's literally put a slide up with Newton's laws on them. What are you going to defend this on his behalf, Adam? I don't think you've got anywhere to go from this.
You can't, Adam.
He's got a cool lab coat.
I hadn't watched this video. For anyone watching that thought that was timed, like I intentionally did that, I no doubt Adam hasn't watched this either, so he couldn't have known he was literally going to put Newton up, literally in the next slide.
I'm dumbfounded.
Exactly, Adam. I can tell by the look on his stupid face from the moment we started. That's why I was like, I'll put my reputation on it. It won't be science, right? I could have done the same here and gone, no, he'll definitely be worthy of my fury, because he's juxtaposing his old rhetoric he said is out of date with his new rhetoric with his squirrel floating.
No acceleration means if he wasn't already...
Acceleration, what, like down 9.8 meters per second? That sort of downward bias acceleration, that sort of thing. What? No. The stuff around it, the blue stuff and the white stuff, the clouds, the gases, they're not going down though, are they? That's still stuff. You've coloured it in, right? The blue and the white. What do you think that is?
But the air can't be moving.
Could it not?
No, everything's got to be static. He's just made a claim that everything's static, so even the air's not moving. Now, if the air is moving, then the wind's blowing him. He'd be blown off, poor little squirrel. Look.
So in his world, you turn off gravity and entropy ceases to exist. I'm afraid not.
For that squirrel to hover, unless he's in a vacuum.
But he's just thick.
It's so weird because there are actual flying squirrels, right?
No.
It's just like, yeah.
Some
but
of them
they have
glide.
like the skin
They fall. They fall with style. They're not flying. They're falling with style.
Yeah, but parachuting, like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
close
parachuting.
enough. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think you'll find that's down to incoherent dielectric acceleration, but we'll get to that another time.
Now, next, let's say there's time dilation caused by the Earth.
Why would we say that? Let's just say it. Why not prove it with experimental validity? How about we do that? Do you think that might be something we might want to do? Rather than just saying it to your audience. Let's just say it. Let's just say that unicorn horns caused this. I mean, we can just say anything we like, really. I mean, obviously, we'd prefer you offered some scientific validity to your claims, rather than just saying them with your fingers up or a jump cut.
Remember,
I think I can
time
formulate
passes
for him here, Nathan.
Say again.
If no time dilation, floating squirrels. If time dilation, normal squirrels. That appears to be what he's just in a long-winded way made the claim. I mean, with that beautiful slide, but that is the premises of what and how he's demonstrated it to us, to the listener. with that slide, you could see without time dilation, squirrels float.
Different rates in different places.
No, we didn't establish that when you showed us a load of clocks with your parlour trick. No, it wasn't science, even though you cut to your channel name when you were claiming this crap about time bending. You definitely did not demonstrate this with your cartoon. And if you did, we'd start asking you what the naturally occurring phenomena was going to be studied if you were going to claim it was science. Now, if it isn't science, you're not going to be offering us any empiricism for naturally occurring phenomena. That's what we deal with exclusively. Not with cartoons or clocks with assertions about some technology issue that you've got with a clock. When you work outside the convention of time.
Did he say there he's demonstrated earlier?
Yes.
Because he started this whole thing with imagine and forget about all the architectural problems if I built a magic tower into space.
Now it's...
now that's
you know
been
that thing I
demonstrated.
showed you earlier that was proven to you while you were under hypnosis? Well, you're back in the room knowing full well I proved that. And no, you didn't. And it was ripped apart real time by us.
The heights of the clocks don't have to be that different, though. Any difference will do.
Any difference? What, so you're saying that if I chuck my watch on the floor and then put a different watch slightly higher up, I'm going to show time dilation? No, definitely not.
Yes.
So imagine we attach 2 clocks to a
Why? So now we've got a flying squirrel with 2 clocks attached to it. So are you going to do any science on your science channel?
squirrel. One on his head and one on his feet.
And one on his balls.
They should tick at different rates too.
Should they? Why? Is there some clock issue? We've got manufacturing issues with clocks at the moment. What's going on?
The difference isn't that much. In fact, it's even smaller than it was for the building. It's only an extra 4/100ths of a femtosecond at the head.
Is it? How much difference at the balls?
For every whole second at the feet. But any difference will do.
Will it? The difference in these 2 clocks isn't a dilation in what we describe with the convention of time. You are working, I say it every time, you are working outside of the convention.
No matter how small. Unfortunately, watching clocks tick doesn't actually give us the right intuition.
It doesn't do anything. If you're trying to establish technological issues with clocks, then yeah, that might be something that was useful. But you're not making that assertion, are you? You're talking about the fabric of nature itself.
Let's
Quick
try something a
question,
little
Arwen.
different.
Arwen, how tall are you, Arwen?
I think roughly 5'7".
I'm 6'2", which means there's a bigger time dilation between my head and my feet than yours.
Okay.
And that's science, baby.
Yeah.
Just doing some quick maths.
But what if I put my knees like around my head?
My
Then
balls are 3.5
break it.
years younger than my head. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Doing my
Okay.
feet. So by the time I get to 70, are my feet technically a couple of years younger than my head?
Easily.
No, but the blood rushes like through the entire body like within a minute or something. So
If we
my
only
feet were
consider the
still
up
in
and
a
down
different time
direction,
zone all the
that
time.
frees up the
blood's
sideways
moving through a
direction for
different
something.
time.
so the blood goes through time dilation, is what you're saying?
Well, the blood must be a time traveler. Whilst
Hmm.
as it travels between.
Guys, we gotta forgive him for being all crazy because what's the channel name? The Science Asylum. Yay! We got crazy science.
Right, no, but it's an asylum for people that believe in science. I mean, he is obviously the guy that is the lunatic in that animation. I mean, come on, he is the lunatic. He is confessing.
Okay, so asylum
Yes,
bit might be
I'm
right.
crazy.
Science bit isn't. If you correctly identified what he does, it would be the pseudoscience asylum.
To be fair, he has got a global
He
shirt
claimed
on.
he claimed a 10 to the negative 15th second differential, which I don't even know how you would even attempt to measure that. That's insane.
What would the
you
margin
do,
of
John,
what would the margin of error
uh,
be? If you're going to claim that as a differential, what's the margin of error? 10 to the what? It's like, this is absurd.
Something else.
Well, you've
10
got
to the
Like the time
negative
for it.
15th.
You get a flying squirrel, and you put 2 digital watches, strap one to its head, and one. And squirrels don't have balls; they have nuts. By the way,
that's what I meant.
Yeah. It is beyond ridiculous. It's beyond provable. That's where Arwin's point comes in when he's talking about this. But it's just, again, fundamentally, see, you go on to arguing that. But Nathan, will you just reiterate the point? That's not what he's measuring. He's outside of convention.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if he shows you the difference. It's me with my 2 stopwatches handed to me by Doc. And they show different times. And, well, they're different. Yeah? Well, that means the car went through time. No, it doesn't. No, the car didn't go through time. You're just an idiot. Yeah, but if I show you a cartoon of a building with a load of clocks on it, no. Stick me in a car and send me back through time. In fact, show me time. Show me how it bends. Show me how it's a road I can travel on. Show me any of the things that you've reified this convention into. You can't. You can't show me any of them. What's that? But you can tell me that it bends and then make examples with cartoons and tell me about a technological difference in a piece of equipment, in this case, a clock. Well, that's just a parlor trick.
Yeah, but what they could reference is, right, like, oh, look at those stars. Like, that light is from millions or billions of years ago. So that could be that must have been like the original inspiration for doing this, and basically being like, fight the flat earth, saying like, oh, look at my hand in front of my face. It's not actually there. And now this guy is stating, oh, look at that thing that's slightly away. That means it's in another time. It's just the same kind of nonsense like that. Same formula. Or it seems.
We've already run over the hour mark, so we might as well do a few more minutes on this. I know we've had a lot of comments, but we'll blast our way through a little bit more of it.
For example, this is just a space versus time graph. Nothing too crazy.
Where's the time bit? Sorry, axis along the bottom. Why would that be time? Is that what time looks like? Is this time? Has he shown it us? No. This is definitely not an axis. We don't have an axis in a dimension of time.
We've been looking at graphs.
Go on.
I was going to say, is he trying to plot the quantum states of a particle again?
Yeah, but he put it on a crude graph that was only in 2 dimensions.
Yeah, even doing that is violating the uncertainty principle.
Like that for hundreds of years to look for patterns in motion. Except the squirrel isn't moving. Remember, we're still in that imaginary world with no...
It's normally me saying that. It's normally me pointing it out for Tyson. You know, better wizards wouldn't actually say that sentence. You know, telling your audience that you're in an imaginary la-la land. You know, it normally has to be left up to people like me to point that out. Because better wizards don't actually say it. What a great line. Let's hear that again. Hey, anti-flat earthers, if you're still out there listening, if this is bearable enough and not too painful.
Except the
you need to listen up
moving.
to what this guy says.
Remember, we're still in that imaginary world with no force of gravity. That means we expect this squirrel to be at the same height.
Do we? We don't expect it to displace all of the air around it. You don't expect that to happen. You expect a squirrel to behave like gas particles, do you? Why would squirrels behave in such a way in your fantasy la-la land? Seems ludicrous to me.
At all times. He has no reason to fall to the ground.
What? He's got no reason to displace things. Well, yeah, he would. And further to that, he'd have to be inserting quite a lot of energy to be in the air in the first place. How did he get there? Why is he in the air? Did he jump? Did he expel a lot of energy and then displace all of the air to get back down to the ground? Because it wasn't bonded together to hold him there? Because there's nothing bonded together beneath him to hold him there after he presumably jumped up.
Nathan, can I make a short statement? I'm noticing, watching the video on YouTube, because I can't see it in the G+ panel, that the guy seems to be putting up his hands a lot. Like, I'm innocent. Aren't you noticing? Like, he's doing that a lot.
Yeah, I did it too. I went on camera and did it too.
Or does he?
Another jump cut. Or does he what? He doesn't do anything. The description you gave was complete nonsense.
Let's take everything we've learned so far and put...
We haven't learned anything. We've been in La La Land. You think we've learned stuff from you, you clown? No, nobody's learned anything.
Put it all together.
But what, all of the la 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 nonsense together? All right, so we're going to come together with a nice, coherent, big ball of nonsense at the end from your la 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 nonsense that we've all thought about.
Squirrel is hovering above the Earth in space.
We all clear so far? Everyone following along? The squirrel is hovering above the Earth in space.
But it's moving forward in time.
Okay, so we've got a time-traveling, hoveling squirrel.
I mean, everything is moving through time.
Oh, right, is it? No, time's a concept. Things don't move through a concept. You can't travel the highway of freedom. Do you understand what a concept is, you stupid idiot? Nobody is traveling through time. It's not a highway. It's a concept that you're working outside of.
But we also know time...
We also know about these clock cartoons, because you told us about this absolutely ludicrously small difference that you claim, that you didn't demonstrate. You postulated with a cartoon.
Time flows at different rates.
No, it doesn't. Time is a convention used to describe something. It doesn't flow. Oh, this is getting so frustrating. Time doesn't flow. Time doesn't dilate. Time doesn't bend. You can't travel on the highway of time. For the love of Jesus.
In different places. You could think of it like a flow gradient around the Earth.
Could you? You could think of it like a river? Like a flow gradient? No. It's a concept used to describe something. It's not for reifying into something with a flow rate. Oh, this is really frustrating, 10th.
Earth. And what happens when there's a gradient? Stuff.
I can see why this guy's got 600,000 subscribers.
Gradients are the reason that anything happens.
Really? What? Gradients are the reason for
What did you just say?
That's a big claim.
You stupid idiot. When Arwin said that you've just got to get everything wrong if you're going to be successful on YouTube, given that this guy's got 600,000 subscribers and I've told the pre-show audience that you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people, it's hard not to, with things like that lingering around in my skull from Arwin. Yeah, you're getting it all wrong.
Ever. All hail the gradients!
What? He's literally got God being a gradient.
What is going on here?
Am I losing my mind? What the hell?
What in the holy hell is going on with this guy?
The squirrel's head moves faster through time than his feet.
You're paying attention, globe-believing Muppets. This is your world. That's right. You've got a floating, time-moving squirrel, for an example, and a guy waving his hand saying, I know it all sounds crazy.
This gradually
And this is why
turns
we
his
laugh
motion.
at y'all.
No, hang on, Nathan. This is why I wanted you to continue. when the Glovers realize what they actually believe.
Arrow, what we call the fore velocity. Over time, it points more and more toward the Earth.
Right, over time, as in you're now using time within the convention to describe him moving on a path of time. So now you've got both the convention in its sincerity and you're working outside of its convention with it plotted on a graph.
The squirrel falls to the ground simply because time dilation exists.
No. It jumped up. It would have had to have got into the air in the first instance. Yeah, we don't have randomly floating, time-dilating squirrels. I can't believe I'm having to say that sentence. Why have I been censored? Why have I, when I have to tell somebody they haven't got time-dilating flying squirrels, why would it be the necessity to suppress me? What the hell? We live in a stupid world.
Surprise!
Yeah, I am surprised, mate. I'm shocked. I'm horrified. I'm laughing. I'm glad I got great support in this stupid community that I find myself in. Because if it wasn't for that, I'd go nuts. Because in this world, you're held up and praised, and I'm suppressed. You're telling people about flying squirrels time dilating, and I'm talking about measuring angles. Censor him immediately! What the hell?
We just predicted gravity.
So in the face of this squirrel
The crazy
diagram,
ones.
you're stating that if you didn't have the flat Earth community to keep your sanity, you would go nuts.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
The
I'd be
only
on the
thing that
street
would
in poverty.
make
There we go.
The only thing that would make this
Just
better
a squirrel and
is-
nuts, right?
You hear chocolate?
It
Go ahead,
is-
chocolate.
Yeah, the only thing that would make this better is for a nice globe believer to come on and tell us how this guy's absolutely on point. That'd be nice if you believe him.
Well, hang on. Kosho said hurricanes travel in a straight line.
Yeah. We need like part 2, 3, 4.
This whole time, we've
Squirrel.
been imagining a universe without a force of gravity. But as long as time passes at different rates in different places,
It doesn't.
things will fall anyway.
What? If so long as time happens at different times, if I work outside the convention that describes what we call time, then things will fall? Are you insane?
Gravity exists.
No, it does not. Gravity is a fourth dimensional space-time. It's a description. And the description is even labelled with the title of pseudo. It's pseudo-Ramonian for space-time. That was invented. It's just a maths. It's not affecting our physical reality in any way, shape, or form.
Even if we don't treat it as a force.
It's because it isn't one.
Did-
Go on.
Nathan, did you miss the part where he said we just predicted gravity?
No, I did hear him say it. Everyone was laughing.
Why does this squirrel fall?
Because everyone's asking that question at the moment. Yeah, I ask myself all day. Paula, what the hell is going on with these time-dilating squirrels?
Because there's a flow gradient in time.
Yeah, that's what I get told all the time too. There are floating squirrels. Oh, no, there aren't floating squirrels. And it's because of the gradient, of course. I mean, it's so obvious now you say it. It's a good job you waved your hands in the air and told us how stupid this isn't.
Why does the
Yeah,
moon
that
orbit the
squirrel is
Earth?
only falling due to the time flow gradient.
Yeah,
It's obvious
obviously.
now.
Obviously, Brian. Good job you've been keeping up.
Because there's a flow gradient in time.
See? There you have it.
The weird universe we've been imagining?
The weird universe you've been imagining is being ripped apart, frame by frame, as you say it, by a load of flat earthers. And yet this crazy old world has us being the ones suppressed. Isn't it nuts?
Is our universe.
No, it isn't. It's a fourth dimensional space-time invented by Einstein that you've described badly.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, dude. Totally ripped your nonsense apart.
To be clear, though, it's not time itself that's flowing.
No, time doesn't flow. We covered that earlier.
Time doesn't do that, and
No, but you made an effort and point to describe how it did do that, didn't you? I also pointed out while you were saying it that it didn't do that. Now you're disclaiming that it doesn't do that after the fact, after you've got everyone to imagine that it does. What a crazy world. Give him 600,000 subscribers immediately.
neither does space.
Yeah, no, I know. Time and space don't bend. Yeah, we started where you were describing it doing that, and I said it didn't. Now you're ending agreeing with me. Isn't it a crazy world?
The flow you're seeing in this
What flow? I don't see any flow. There's no squirrels flying. Dilating time. Your example was shite. I haven't seen it.
animation is just...
Oh, in the animation. Right. I need to explain why the squirrel flew in the animation in La La Land. I spend very little of my time pondering those things, my friend.
just there to give you intuition.
Oh, it makes me have intuition, says you're an idiot. It's not intuition either, it's knowledge and understanding of the world I actually live in. And now, isn't this fourth dimensional space-time bending when you work outside the convention of time? That was an intuition you gave me, you numpty.
I've just
Did he just
replaced
tell
the
you
ticket
that did he just give you an intuitive proof?
Yeah. That's what he said.
clocks with a bunch of imaginary point particles.
Yeah. The ones that John covered earlier. John, this is your cue. Or not.
So, wait, what about point particles? What about them?
Yeah, what about them? Did you track them all? Oh, it was just a squirrel animation. I didn't need to track the squirrel.
Do they feel gravity? Sure. How do they feel that time gradient flow thingy if they don't have any size?
You're a time gradient flow thingy. Yes.
Well, because calculus.
Because maths isn't causal. Again, isn't it science? Isn't your channel the Science Asylum? What the hell? This is not what you're doing if you're now going to blame maths and link it causally to anything, especially when you haven't actually described any phenomena. It's supposed to be science. Why are you now appealing to mathematics? Oh,
That's
God.
the admission. No, Nathan, that's the admission. It only exists in the maths.
While we consider all these elementary particles to be points with no size, we don't actually know that's true.
This guy is really crap as a wizard, isn't he? Stop making the disclaimers about how wrong you are. It just makes my job easier. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's very little that you know. But you're more than content to put your audience in La La Land, in line with the heliocentric rhetoric of fourth-dimensional space-time.
They're just smaller than we can measure.
Very flexible in his approach. Very, very flexible.
But even if they are points with no size, the math doesn't treat them that way.
Who cares what the math does?
If we shrink the squirrel down to subatomic scales...
Oh my God. You're going to stick with the squirrel?
The two clocks get closer and closer, but they're never at a...
Ugh. Now we've got a La La Land squirrel flying, not descending through the gas that it's presumably jumped into, with two clocks attached to it, being shrunk down to a subatomic level. I mean, is it just me, or is this example getting a little Inception-esque?
It's getting
No,
very
at this rate,
movie-like.
at this rate, all we need is Zanuck with his hot tub, with a rotating hot tub with missiles to prove his Coriolis, and we have a whole circus.
What I want to know
Honey,
is,
I shrunk the squirrel.
does the
Nathan,
squirrel, in his little, in his cheeks, does he have one of those little spinners that he spins to know whether or not it's like just a dream?
at exactly the same place, and they're never ticking at exactly the same rate.
Because you've done this. Because you've shrunk a flying, time-dilating squirrel down with two clocks attached to it to subatomic particle levels, so you can, give us a 10 to the 17 or 10 to the 16 or whatever it was. Was it 10 to the 15? What? This is beyond absurd.
There
Well,
are
at least he
always
calls it the Science Asylum.
two clocks. Sometimes they're just infinitesimally close to each other.
What, in La La Land, mathematics? Not in physical reality, not in any way tangible.
So where does gravity come from?
It doesn't. It's not a force. It doesn't come from anywhere. It's in the maths only.
It comes from time dilation.
Sorry, time dilation, something you just told us isn't something that you could do, as we clarified all the way through your descriptions of it doing that. So the thing that doesn't happen, you can't show, and I clarified as you were describing it doing something, not doing it, is now the cause of this. In maths, not in physics. Hope we're all following along. No wonder he's got his own pair of slapped ass faces on screen at the same time. Yeah, both of these are faces of a man with like he's just been slapped in the face with a wet fish.
I have a video that maybe you could play later or tomorrow that is a response video to this that corrects him on what he's saying is the cause of gravity.
Okay.
That's the idea, that time passes at different rates.
The idea that time passes at different rates, we can debunk because we're describing something that works outside of the convention. Again, I have to cover it every single time he says it, but he's just clarified again, crappy wizardry. Don't tell your audience that it's just an idea of time passing at different rates when you've made it clear to them in your examples, conceptual or otherwise, that that's something that does happen, according to you. But now you've let slip that it's just an idea. Yeah, we clarified that all the way through as you reified time and worked outside of its convention over and over and over again. But now you've let it slip, it's just an idea. Yeah, we knew. We disclaimed that all the way through. We made that clear for our audience, not that you did. But what, you think you're going to get away with the complete crap after disclaiming it at the end?
In different places. Large masses like the Earth don't...
What? Here we go. Back to description of an orbital motion? Why are you describing orbits with Earth as a sphere? Again, we've just debunked every aspect of this.
Exert a force.
Force? No, gravity's definitely not a force.
They just make time pass more slowly nearby.
Definitely not. Nothing's going to change what we describe with the convention of time in terms of how much it passes. That will be the same always. You qualifying it or counting beans for it or moving cogs for it isn't changing it. It's just you tracking it or describing it. Now, taking that description and working outside of it because you see something that you used in your bean counting or a difference in the maths doesn't mean that the event and convention of time has changed in any way.
By them. This creates a gradient in the flow of time.
No, it doesn't. No, we don't have falling squirrels, even though you're putting up the visual representation of that so that we all take ourselves back to squirrel falling la la land.
Which bends space-time.
Don't forget holy gradient.
Gravity is just time.
No, it isn't. Gravity is not time. Gravity is a description of a fourth-dimensional space-time called pseudo-Riemannian force space. Time is not a dimension.
Curving into space.
No, time doesn't bend into space. You can't bend time. Time's a concept.
Time.
Yeah,
is
and he's
more
getting it wrong. He's getting it wrong within the concept, right? Because no, it's gravity is not time. It's the bending of space-time. So you got it wrong within the convention. He's just like losing it. He's losing cohesion. He's just throwing paint at the wall right now.
fundamental than gravity.
The video I have corrects him on this because it should be the equivalence principle. He should be detailing. So him and several others get corrected by this other guy, and that doesn't make the equivalence principle real, because to ask the question, what is the cause of gravity? I mean, the cause of what? Gravity. What's that? Who proved any of this? What is the cause of this thing that nobody proved existed? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's going to be begging the question fallacy, isn't it? What is the cause of gravity? There's no bigger begging the question fallacy than that. Something that was never proven to exist. We're looking for the cause of it. How can you put a cause of something that we have never shown existed?
I'm sorry, Brian, you're still on a too really is level for what this guy's actually going through. He's completely lost it. I mean, he's getting all the conventions wrong. He's just putting a mixer in it.
Yeah, you need to take yourself to that fantasy la la land that he's trying to take his audience to. But with that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. We'll wrap up and cover the rest of this numpty nonsense for you in the after show audience. If you're not already, subscribe to my second channel where you can see that after show a couple of days' time, if you are watching this live, that is. So subscribe today to my second channel. Or if you're a member, obviously stay tuned right now and you'll get to see it immediately. Not that it's been recorded yet, but I'm talking from time dilation land, so I can talk about the absolutely superb show that has already happened because we bent time to find out exactly what was going to occur. So stay tuned if you want to watch that. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!